imposter syndrome. Thank you, Jen, for introducing me and for hosting me as a coach on Flourish. Really excited to be a part of it. So I'll be talking about how I built a new life in China, South Africa, and Egypt. Who is this presentation for? This is for anyone who feels like an imposter in some capacity in their life, is waiting to be ready for something, project, idea, next step, has a dream you want to explore, wants more confidence in your personal and professional relationships, or is ready to embrace more purpose in your life. Before we dig in, two promises I'll make to you. One is that everything I teach you today, and for as long as we know each other, will always be in alignment with my values as a coach, a yoga teacher, and a humanitarian. And number two, there is nothing for sale today, just helpful content that has the ability to transform your mindset and open up new opportunities in your life. Two questions for you as we get started. Number one, this idea of max value. I want people to take away as much as possible from the next 45 minutes or so that we have together. And so I'm curious, what brought you here today? What are you looking to get out of this webinar, out of this workshop? What is max value for you in talking about this concept of imposter syndrome? If that means sharing it in the chat, I'd love to see. If that means writing it down for yourself, if you've got pen and paper, if you want to take a minute to go grab pen and paper, open up a Word document. This question is really helpful in framing how much you get out of anything, whether it's this webinar, a class you attend, a movie that you go to, a friend you're meeting up with for coffee. What is max value for that particular experience? I'll give you a minute to think about that. And if anyone wants to share, absolutely use the chat box at any point during the presentation today. While you're thinking about that, I'll introduce the second question I have for you is around full participation. What does full participation mean for you? For this particular webinar today, does it mean asking questions? Does it mean muting your phone? Does it mean writing out answers for yourself and journaling as you go, thoughts, ideas, questions that arise? Thank you, Hannah, for sharing in the chat. I'm here because when getting to the next level, I often don't feel good enough, which I think is a universal feeling when we start a new experience, start a new job, get to that next level of questioning whether we're good enough, whether we're meant to be there. And that's exactly what we'll be talking about today. I'm glad that you shared that. Thank you. All right, so these questions, max value, full participation. I'll let you think about those as we dig in. I hope to hear from others and learn how they dealt with that, Lola. Yes, absolutely. The goal is to have this be participatory, hear from one another, because I'm here to hold space, ask some questions, share a little bit of knowledge, but ideally we're all learning from one another. All right, how to beat imposter syndrome, the personal growth plan. No one can make you change. No one can stop you from changing. No one really knows how you must change. Not even you, not until you start. David Viscott. I love this quote because it puts power back in your hands. You decide when change happens. It is not forced upon you or prevented from entering your life. You choose when you change, how you change, where you change, and it's just a matter of starting. So who am I? I am Jennifer Walsh-Chu. I'm an international coach, humanitarian yoga teacher, and diversity trainer. I've lived in 6 countries and traveled to 45. I speak 3 languages, and I've worked across tech, startups, NGOs, and small businesses. I built partnerships across Asia for Equality Now's anti-sex trafficking work. I taught small business skills to refugees in South Africa. And I currently serve as an advisor to Beijing-based social impact org Purpose in Motion and Nigeria-based NGO Inspire for Greatness. In the next 45 minutes, I'm going to walk through how imposter syndrome showed up in my life, what it cost me, and how I overcame it. This is a photo of me in 2014. I had just graduated from university. I was in my first job. I was soon to discover that I was being paid less than my male colleague for the same position, same experience, background. I had chopped off my hair in an effort to reinvent myself as a person in a new city, new job, and I was looking for any job that paid. That was my criteria. I was applying to everything under the sun. I just wanted a job that paid me. And then fast forward a few years to 2020. This was me a couple months ago. I had just arrived in Cairo. I had stepped into a life of being a freelance consultant, humanitarian traveler, yoga teacher, diversity trainer, and had grown back my hair. Lola says she's having trouble seeing my screen, so I'm going to stop share and re-share it to bring it back up. All right, hopefully you can see it now. Let me know if there are any problems for anyone else. So in the next 45 minutes, I'm going to walk through how to recognize imposter syndrome in your life and what it's costing you. We're going to talk about how to redesign self-defeating thoughts like I can't or I'm not ready into confidence, and how to leverage that confidence for success in your life, work, and relationships. Finally, we're going to talk about how to feel peace of mind and clarity of purpose every day instead of only in fleeting moments. How to intentionally build a life you love starting right now. We'll talk a little bit about me, but mostly about you. So, have you missed out on a job, a promotion, a raise, a chance to move abroad, a book you wanted to write, a dream project you'd love to start? I want to know what imposter syndrome has held you back from in your life. What comes to your mind when you saw this poster, when you registered for this event, when you signed on to the webinar? What came up for you that you've missed out on? I'd love to hear in the chat if things come up for you that you feel comfortable sharing, or if you want to write it down for yourself or hold it in your mind. Bring it to the forefront of your thoughts, of your consciousness. What is the thing? Perhaps many things. What is one thing that you have missed out on because of imposter syndrome? We call it out so that we can address it. If we know what it is, we can make a plan. So we'll start with myself. I'll give people a minute to put in the chat. I have missed out on income. That is the first thing that's come up for me, income, because I didn't negotiate, was scared to negotiate, was told not to negotiate. And so as in my first job that I shared, I was paid less than my colleague. Same role, we were both entry level, first 5 employees at a startup, and I found out I was being paid significantly less, like $5,000 to $10,000 less. Jobs I've missed out on because I waited to quit a job I was in. I didn't apply to a job I wanted, didn't ask for the introduction from someone in my network to a place they were working because I was scared. Imposter syndrome, scared that they would judge me, that they would think I wasn't good enough or discover I wasn't good enough. And just so you know, I'm with you all in this. I still face imposter syndrome with getting published. That's the big one for me in my life right now, and the process I continue to work through around imposter syndrome of writing and getting published. So what was it for you? And a couple of people have shared, what is one thing you wish you were doing right now but are scared to? I might have hit 3 figures in my business. Yeah, absolutely. Income and what we create financially for ourselves. Job opportunities, absolutely. I think these are very common for people, income and job opportunities. And I would encourage you as well to think about both the professional and the personal, right? It shows up in all areas of our life. Perhaps it's a person you wanted to ask out. Perhaps it's a trip you wanted to take. Perhaps it's a better relationship you want with your family. A number of different ways that we can think about, recognize, and then overcome imposter syndrome across all components of our life. 70% of people have experienced imposter syndrome, according to studies. I would guess that that number is actually much higher. And I share this so that you know that you are not alone. I know doctors, lawyers, PhDs with imposter syndrome. It impacts everybody, and it shows up in different ways throughout your life. And the sooner that we can become conscious of it, make a game plan, the sooner we can stop it from holding us back, from costing us joy, fulfillment, jobs, relationships, experiences. So, what is it? Someone with imposter syndrome is someone who isn't able to internalize their own success. So I think exactly what Hannah was sharing in the beginning. I'm here because when getting to the next level, I often don't feel good enough. So the idea is that you are successful. We are successful. Created that success, but there is a block around trusting it, believing it, internalizing it. There are a couple of different ways that imposter syndrome tends to show up for people. And they've done studies around this and found that these 5 categories are most common. The perfectionist who wants to do their work perfectly. It's either perfect or it's wrong, awful, not good enough. There's only one option for outcome. Second is the expert, the person who is really good at something. And if something falls outside their area of expertise, they feel like an imposter. They're either the expert or they're nothing. The natural genius to whom things come easily or naturally. And when they encounter a challenge, again, fall back into imposter syndrome. If it's hard, it's because I'm not good enough, I'm not capable, I'm not able. The soloist who wants to do it all themselves doesn't need help, doesn't need to work with other people, can do it themselves. And if they can't do it themselves, then there's a problem. And Superwoman, Superman, similar to Soloist or to all of these combined, can do everything. And if they encounter something they can't do, again, imposter syndrome, failure, problem, negative thoughts come in. So I'm curious if any of these resonate for you. If one of them speaks to you more than another, feel free to share that. I know I definitely fall into the perfectionist category. I want it to be perfect. I spend hours and hours, and then it doesn't get done because I'm waiting for it to be perfect. So a motto or a phrase that has helped me is done is better than perfect. I'm sure you've heard it before. It's a common one. Done is better than perfect. And yet I constantly, even knowing it, have to remind myself of that so that I can move forward, create, be prolific over being perfect. I'll give you a minute to think if any of those resonate more for you. And the goal there is to identify which one shows up in your life so that you can identify if it's a pattern. If it's showing up in one place, it may be showing up in other places. Where can you identify it, draw it out, and then address it? What is the cost? Thinking about imposter syndrome, okay, it's a thing. What's the big deal? What is it costing us in our lives, in our world, in our communities? I think about the global community, how many jobs, books, trips, romances have been missed out on as a result of imposter syndrome? How many sleepless nights, mental anguish, regret exist in the world because of imposter syndrome? What have you missed out on? And who else is missing out as a result? Missing out on your gifts, your talents, your knowledge, your peaceful being. The people who will read the book you write, people who will watch the movie you write and direct, the people who will enjoy a meal with you from your newfound peace and confidence and find joy in your company. Who misses out as a result of when and I invite you to think about that in your life, in your family, in your community, in your friends. Is there a thing? Is there a job you didn't go after? People that would have worked with you, learned from you, resonated with the story you would share? Who are those people? Picture their faces. Use that as motivation, as momentum. So, why does it matter? Peace, purpose, fulfillment. You think about when you overcome imposter syndrome. Think of a time in your life when you've overcome it. You stepped into the role, you applied for the thing, you spoke to that person. How did you feel afterward? Was there a physical physiological response in your body, excitement, joy, sense of confidence, burst of energy. How did you feel when you went to sleep that night that you did the thing? You created the connection, created the project, stepped forward, grew. That's why it matters. That's what it creates. Impact lives, starting with yours. So, how do you do it? People believe one thing about you, what you believe about yourself. Picture this. You are in a room, perhaps it's a reception or a networking event, and there's a bunch of people, it's crowded, the door opens, and someone slips in quietly, looking down at the floor, shoulders are slumped, quiet. They look around the room, but more furtively, out of fear than excitement. They see the food table, they look in relief and head that way. You don't know this person, you've never met them, and yet, what do you believe about them? In that moment, with that short amount of information that you've taken in, are you even still looking at them? Are you still thinking about them? Have you gone back to your conversation? You've never met them, and yet what do you believe about them? Now picture someone opens the door, steps confidently into the room. They look around, but not to hide, but to make eye contact. They connect eyes with you. You happen to be looking up at the same time. They smile and start walking toward you, ready to say hello, to introduce themselves, to have a conversation. You don't know this person. What do you believe about them? Because of how they have shown up in their body, how they've stepped into the room, regardless of their credentials, their knowledge, their skills, anything else, both people are the same as far as you know, because you don't know them yet. And yet, what do you believe about this person as they approach you, as they walk up, as they extend their hand in non COVID times to shake your hand and say hello? People believe what you believe about yourself. If you believe you are confident, if you believe you are worthy, if you believe you deserve to be where you are, people will pick up on that more than your credentials, more than the words you say. They will pick up on the energy you put out into the world, the way that you show up. When you get this, you'll immediately transform how people relate to you because you can decide how you show up, whether in the office, in your family, or anywhere. Anytime you want, you can create a new experience for yourself that results in more offers, more opportunities, more income, and more joy. A little bit about me, my story over the last couple of years. In 2016, I applied to grad school. I was an American living in America. Decided I wanted to change. 2017, I quit my job in New York. I moved to Beijing, started grad school. 2018, I took a job in China as an NGO consultant, traveling around Asia. This is when I was doing anti-sex trafficking work. 2019, I left the consultancy and hit the road. In those few years, I went from an American living in America to an American living abroad. I went from a worker to a student, and I went from student to humanitarian activist, consultant, freelancer, reinventing, changing, transitioning, stepping into new roles that I had never been in before. I had never lived in China. I had never been a consultant. I had never been a grad student. I had never been a number of things. In the last year, after I left China, I traveled across Asia, Europe, and Africa to about 15 different countries. I went to a wedding in South Africa and decided to stay. I ended up in Cape Town, was there for a few days, and had freedom of movement as a freelance consultant. Decided I wanted to stay. I had one friend and nothing else. I found a job, a house, a community, stayed there for several months, came home for Christmas and New Year's Eve, and then decided I wanted to go to Egypt. So in January, I moved to Egypt, found a job, a home, and a community. I was not ready for any of these things. I just did them. And this is a testament to overcoming imposter syndrome and what we're going to get to in a couple minutes of exactly how I did that. From Cairo, I was there for a few months. From Cairo, I had an opportunity to go to Greece, moved to Athens with all of my stuff, waited for my paperwork to go through, had an opportunity to come to New York for a conference with UN Women, flew home, landed, COVID hit, the conference was canceled, my flight was canceled, and suddenly I was on the wrong continent, wrong country with no job, no income, and no plan. Talk about needing to start over, reinvent myself, and any of the options in front of me I had not done before. So, talk about imposter syndrome. It was not something I was familiar with, confident in, had experience with that I could fall back on. The bottom line is the people who have overcome imposter syndrome to take full advantage of their life opportunities and joy have made these 5 key shifts. I'm going to walk through all 5 of them right now, so let's dive in. Shift number 1 is mindset. The way that we often approach, the way that society teaches us to approach new situations is do, have, be. Think about it in terms of school. If I do this class, I will have this degree, and then I will be a graduate. I will be taken seriously. I will be an expert. And I want you to flip that on its head. Instead of starting with do, start with be. If I be this thing, be this person, I'll use myself as an example. If I be a person who moves to Egypt, what will I do? I will buy the ticket. I will reach out to friends for connections, for advice. I will post on Facebook groups. And what will I have as a result? I will have a network, resources, opportunities that open up, people who know what I need and then can help me. All of the same steps are there. So I'm not saying to lean back and wait for life to come to you or to happen. But if you start with be and think about the actions that come out as a result of that, and what it will create in your life. If we stick with the original method, do, have, be, where's the peace? You are waiting for be. You're not there yet. You are always in progress. You are always almost there. And then living in a state of waiting. I'm waiting for these things I do to create these results so that I can be this thing. If we start with be, we're already there. We get 2 things. One is peace of mind. I'm already this thing. I believe it. And number 2, we get results. Because you believe it, because people see that, feed off of it, want to help you be a part of it, you create the results. So the number 1 most important thing is new beliefs. What do you believe about yourself? How do you step into that mentality? Who do you need to be to do this thing, be that person, accomplish that result? Who do you need to be? I think this is a really important question. So I'm going to give you a second there to think about it, write it down. Who do I need to be to do this thing? Whatever it was that came up for you at the beginning of this workshop, write the book, publish the thing, start a TV show, move to another country, whatever it is, who do you need to be? What kind of person? A confident person, a directed person, anything that comes to mind. Who do you need to be? Second thing I'll share with you under mindset is visualization is a really powerful tool. They've done a lot of studies to show connection between visualization and performance. A lot of top performing athletes use visualization before games, before competitions, and there's a connection between the mind and the body, that visualizing what you're going to do, what you need to do, physically prepares your muscles, prepares the body to do that thing. A lot of you have probably seen Amy Cuddy's TED Talk on power poses, and taking those 2 minutes before you step on stage, before you step into the exam room, before you go into a job interview, to prepare yourself mentally and physically, and it changes how you show up. Same person, same knowledge, same experiences, and yet you show up differently, you perform differently. And this idea of fake it till you make it, right? Step into that thing, even if you don't believe you're ready, tell yourself that you are. Step into it, be that person, and you'll find, I would guess, more quickly than you'd expect that you become that thing. Another question that you can ask here around mindset. First goal is to eradicate the judgment. I'm not ready, and realize that you are, right? And if that's not immediately effective for you, another question you can ask is, what is the judgment? So for myself, let's say I want to be a yoga teacher. And the judgment is, I'm not ready. Is that resourceful? Is the judgment resourceful? If I tell myself I'm not ready, what does it create? It creates nothing. I stop. I don't start. I hold back. I don't offer classes. I don't put myself out there. I don't grow. I don't change. I don't practice. I don't become ready. So, whether or not it's true, is it resourceful? Definitely not. What is a new judgment then that is resourceful? I'll be ready when I start. Upgrade that. I am ready. I am ready. What does that judgment create for me? If I'm ready, then I'll start today. I'll invite a couple of friends. I'll hop on Zoom. I'll do a Instagram Live or Facebook Live. So whether or not it's true, what does it create? Is it resourceful? So I'm curious for you, what is the judgment you have of yourself when you think of imposter syndrome? What is the phrase that comes up? I'm not ready. I'm not able. I'll be found out. Know for yourself what that is. You can share it in the chat or write it down for yourself. Knowing what that phrase is really powerful because then you can address it. Knowing what the words are specifically for you that hold the most power over you. And you can take that power away, reclaim it for yourself. What do you want the judgment to be? What do you choose to be? Be not at the whims of your fears, but at the power of your mind. Another question here that you can ask yourself is, what is the vision worth going after? If my vision is to start a nonprofit to provide housing and job training for survivors of trafficking in northern Thailand, and I'm afraid that I'm not ready, I'm an imposter, who am I to start an NGO? What is a vision that's bigger than me that's worth going after? Okay, if I give in to imposter syndrome, any of the people I would share resources with, share housing with, provide to, lose out. If I remind myself that it's for them and not for me, then I have a chance moving forward because it's not about me. When you get this, you'll create greater fulfillment, peace, and purpose for yourself and those around you. So, what would you absolutely love to be doing that imposter syndrome has held you back from? Well, we're a couple minutes in now, and I'd love to hear if anyone has come up with things that we've talked about, thought about, what's come up for you in the last several minutes that imposter syndrome has held you back from. Lola shared, I've often try once, get rejected, and then I get scared and feel I'm not good enough. Yes, absolutely. We have this little bit of courage that's enough to try once. And if we face rejection, face further hardship, we pull back, right? That's confirmation that the fear was right, that the belief was right. Danielle shared, I'm afraid of negotiating salary when it comes to the interview. Yes, absolutely. If we identify these situations and think about what exactly is it that I'm afraid of. So if you've been rejected once, that's the worst. That's the worst thing. You've experienced it. So what's next? Now you know what it is. Does it take that fear away? Does it take the wind out from it? Imposter syndrome arises when I network with more accomplished peers. Yes, absolutely. Thinking about that one in particular and putting ourselves, what can often help is putting ourselves in that the other person's shoes. If I am networking with someone who has different life experiences than me, what do you feel in that moment? Are you looking to judge them? Or does it perhaps feel good that you have something to share? Or perhaps it feels good that you have something different to learn about. They've done something you haven't done. How can we reframe it in a positive way, positive light? And again, using these judgments, is it resourceful or is it not? If that judgment, if that fear is not resourceful, what can we put in its place? Believe that people are excited to talk to you because you have different experiences. Believe that they see you as more accomplished than them. Perhaps they're feeling the same way. Shift number 2, feedback. Talking to friends or family we trust can be a phenomenal way to boost self confidence as well as identify areas for growth so that you feel fully prepared for the opportunity at hand. All of these scenarios, absolutely talking to people that you care about, love, and trust, whether it's salary negotiations, networking, applying to jobs, and getting feedback from our friends and family. It can be really easy to give voice, give power, give space to the demons in our mind of what we are afraid of is happening, that people are believing or judging about us, and getting feedback, getting a reality check with what's actually happening with the people who know us best. Do they believe that those things are true? What do they see us as? What do they want to encourage us in? And are our opinions more important than theirs? Give some weight to the people who love us, care about us, know us best. What do they believe is true? That you are ready, that you are accomplished, you are capable. Or it may be real talk. Hey, I'd love to see growth in this particular area. Here's something that you can grow in. So a lot of times our fear is because we don't think we're ready, and it's this anonymous, ambiguous blob of a beast of, I don't know how to be ready. I just know that I'm not. Right? So if we get feedback, we can create an action plan. What do our friends and family think would help us grow in a particular way or scenario to engage in that experience more powerfully, more confidently, more skillfully? Shift number 3 is ask for help. I think this is a hard one for a lot of people. It's definitely been a hard one for me in the past. And what's been helpful is to reframe thinking about asking for help, not as a bad thing, but as both a testament to our expertise and a gift to the other person. So, two things here, and I'll walk through both of those. The first thing, a testament to my expertise. How can asking for help speak to my expertise? Well, if you think about it this way, if you have been head down, becoming an expert in the thing you do, that means that you don't have time to become an expert in all of these other things because you have funneled your time, your energy, your resources into becoming really good at something. So if you are an incredible author and then you're looking for a publisher, well, who's to say that you have all of the publishing contacts and know how the administrative and tech side works when you put all of your love, passion, energy into writing this phenomenal book? So asking for help can often mean that you are an expert in something and now looking for someone else's expertise in other areas. And the second thing of it being a gift, how can we think about it that way? Well, if you imagine, when was the last time someone asked you for help? Anywhere, in work, in life, family member. Imagine the last time someone asked you for help. How did it feel? How did it feel in your body? How did it feel emotionally for someone to say, hey, I value your knowledge, your experience, your wisdom. I want to know what you think. What should I do? How do I do this? What's best? Because I trust you. So think about that and hold that in your mind. Pick a particular experience of someone who's asked you for help. I'll give you a minute to think about it because I think this exercise is so powerful. And as Jen mentioned in the chat, if anyone would like to come off mute, share their questions out loud or experiences, happy to hear times when you have been asked for help and how it felt for you to be asked.
I have a question.
Yes.
When is the best time to ask for help? When you feel yourself in a really low position of your life?
Yeah, I think you can ask for help anytime. I think you can always ask for help. I know commonly there's a fear that it's too late to ask for help. I know I often felt this way if I had an assignment from my boss and I didn't know how to do it and I would put it off to the last minute and then I wouldn't ask for help because I would shame myself into thinking I should have asked for help sooner. I think that it is never too late to ask for help because you are being honest about where you are, what's happening, and what's needed. So I think you can always ask for help. And here is a really good place as well to think about, who do you want to ask for help from, and having that tribe, network, group that you can fall back on, people that you trust who know won't judge you, that you can be honest with. Hey, I waited and now this is where I am. Or, hey, I just did this thing. It's really scary. I don't know how to do it. I took this job and I'm terrified. What do I do? And ask for help. I think a good thought there is, who do you want to ask so that you are ready when the need, the desire arises? Do you have friends, mentors, former supervisors, current supervisors, classmates? Who do you want to turn to so that you have that name ready when the need arises? Oh, I have this person. I call my mom. I call my best friend. I call my brother. That these are go-tos so that I can fall back on it and I don't have to spend time thinking about it or being afraid of it. I know I've thought through, I know this person won't judge me. I know I can trust this person. Yeah, great question. Does anyone else have any questions here? Cool. We'll move on. Shift number 4, sink or swim. This is probably my favorite, in case you haven't noticed based on my life experience. Throw yourself into the deep end, sink or swim. I moved to Cape Town with no housing, no job, one friend, and a few $1,000s in the bank. A few months later, I moved to Cairo with no housing, no job, one friend, and a few less $1,000s in the bank. And I made it work. I wanted to do a thing. I didn't know how to do it. I just put myself into it because I knew that I wouldn't be ready at any point. Ready is a myth, right? I had to just do it. And once I got there, then I could take stock, figure out what I needed. This works well for me. It doesn't work well for everybody. Sometimes there are more or less factors. Maybe sink or swim means you save up a certain amount of money and then you do it. Maybe it means you go visit for a week, no pressure, come home, think about it, and then you do it. Sink or swim can mean different things to different people. Figuring out what you need before going. I had a conversation with my mom. That was really important. And that helped. That was my sink or swim. I had these factors in place and I went for it. So, what would the factors be for you for the thing that you want to do that scares you? Perhaps it's reaching out to one person who's done it before and talking to them and learning about it. Perhaps it's Googling and reading blogs about people who've done it before. Perhaps it's finding one way of doing the thing, finding a director you can reach out to, a publisher, finding a job that's hiring and just knowing that it's there and putting some of that into place. So here, a question for you, and if you have pen and paper, if you're thinking about this, if you want to share out loud, what is one nuclear action you can do right now, today, to move yourself toward your goal, whatever imposter syndrome is holding you back from? And this is really key, so I'm going to pause here for a moment as well. One nuclear action you can do today that would move you forward. So it has to be something simple. It can't be write my book, because that takes time, right? Maybe it's writing 200 words for my book. Maybe it's finding one person on LinkedIn to reach out to. I'd love to hear if anyone wants to share here what your nuclear action is, and I invite you to commit to it. What is the thing that you can do today that will move you toward your goal, that will move you through imposter syndrome toward your goal? If you want to come off mute, if you want to share it in the chat, you're welcome to. I'll let you keep thinking about that one. And if anything comes up later our in our time together, or you want to move back, feel free to come up and share that. Number 5 is hire a coach. And this one has been monumental in my life. We all have blind spots, and so working with a coach is invaluable in helping you clear mental space to move forward faster. I have a coach. My coach has a coach. You can't do surgery on yourself. I want to share a couple of examples of when coaching has been incredibly impactful in my life, changed the trajectory of my life. And I don't say that lightly. When I said my boss is being difficult, my coach said, "What's the vision?" He didn't say, "How do we deal with the boss? How do you work through it? How can you problem solve this?" He said, "What's the vision? Is it helping trafficking survivors or is it pleasing your boss?" Oh, how seen I felt in that moment. What is my goal? What is my vision? Okay, I don't have funding. Can I create funding? Can I do something without funding? Can I organize a virtual conference instead of an in person conference? What is my vision? How do I go after it myself? Not what's given to me, told to me, expected of me. How can I go above and beyond? Another example, I said, I want to move to Egypt. Right? And I expected when I told people this to be like, what? Why? When are you going to do it? You should do save up money, get this in place. That's scary. And instead, my coach said, okay, why? Why do you want to go? When do you want to go? We had a conversation, we made a plan, and a few months later, I had left Cape Town and landed in Cairo. This is a diagram of coaching. Why I coach, why I became a coach. Coaching was so impactful in my life that I said, I want to do this. I want to share this with my friends, with my family, with other people, because it has changed the trajectory of my life. I went from thinking I could only either A, work in a nonprofit, make no money, B, work in something I was not passionate about and make money. A or B, two options, that's it. Those are the only two things for me. I thought about law school, thought about business school, I thought about going into consulting or big companies. I don't know, things that I wasn't even passionate about. But I was like, well, if I want to be financially stable, it's A or B. That's it. Working with a coach changed the trajectory of my life. I now have 3 businesses. I teach yoga, I'm a diversity consultant, and I'm a coach. None of that would have happened if I hadn't had these conversations, done this work with my coach, which is why I emphasize this, because it can change so much between your default future of what will happen moving through life and what will happen when you work with a coach, work with someone you trust, work with someone who will push you to create the results you want to see. A coach is someone who relentlessly believes in you, who asks you questions no one else does or will, and who holds you accountable. Right? You tell a friend you're going to do something, you don't, and they're like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Do it tomorrow. No big deal. And a coach is like, okay, no problem. Why didn't you do it? Let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation. Let's figure out what happened so that we can address it, so that you can create momentum to move forward, see if it's happening in other places in your life. Questions no one else is asking you. And if they are, that's awesome. Hold on to them. A lot of people, when they hear about coaching, think it's a frivolous investment, it's a lot of money. Coaches range from $50 to $500 an hour. You can find a coach in your budget, I promise you, online, ask around. What you pay is up to you. What I invite you to think about is, what is it costing you not to have a coach? Mental anguish, missed opportunity, anxiety, fear, default future rather than chosen future. Share this because these are questions I was asked when it was put to me to invest in a coach, and how important I think it is. Even as I was starting businesses, I was putting in the initial months, making very little money, and I was putting 100% of that back into coaching because I knew it would move me forward faster. Having someone outside myself to give me perspective, push me, hold me accountable, open up new ideas, new possibilities, having already seen the results it had created in the last year and knowing what was possible. If you doubt you can do it, welcome to the majority. We're all there. 70% imposter syndrome, probably much higher. Everyone I have worked with has come up against imposter syndrome in pursuing something new but exciting, a new business, new relationship, new country, new experience. We did it together. The old way, say no later, when I'm ready. Pass up the opportunity, let someone else more qualified, ready, confident take it. The new way, transform your vision of yourself, your mindset. Ask for feedback, ask for help, sink or swim, throw yourself in, hire a coach. These are not either or. You can do these in conjunction with each other, put different ones together, figure out what works for you at what point in time with which opportunity. Why does this work? Because people believe what you tell them. People respond to energy more than words. If you show up and you say, hi, I am this thing. I am a coach, yoga teacher, diversity consultant. It would take effort to not believe me, right? If I show up and I own that and I'm authentic in it, it's not about lying and being something you're not. It's about believing that you are that thing, showing up authentically because what you have to share is that important. Your knowledge, your skills, what you can create through that opportunity. The job you'll take, the thing you'll do, write, create. This works because when you get this, you'll be able to choose your opportunities when you want them, not when you think you're ready for them. If I waited till I thought I was ready, would not have gone to China, would not have gone to South Africa, would not have gone to Egypt, would not have worked as a anti-sex trafficking consultant, as a child protection consultant. I would not be mentoring people, working with people. I would still be waiting. I would still be in school. And school is amazing. You should definitely go to school. And I mention that to just be intentional about when you're in school and when you're wanting to create something else. Both are important. If you still have doubts, people I work with have for the first time in their lives started new businesses, created clients, founded nonprofits, landed acting gigs, full-length feature films, started relationships, left relationships. They came in willing to be coached, willing to set ambitious goals, and with a passion for helping others. These are all key. These are a couple of testimonials from people that I have worked with. So if you are looking for what results have been created, this is what's possible when you work with a coach, things that have been possible in my life and other people's lives. And the importance of finding a coach that you resonate with, that you vibe with personally, because so much is in the personal relationship, right? The same person could ask you, a different person could ask you the same question, and it won't land well if you don't vibe. And so if you're looking for a coach, if it's something you're considering, I encourage you to interview, talk to coaches, interview them, see how you get along. Julia in London moved countries, started acting, landed a full-length feature film after we started working together. Christine in Manila found structure and direction. She's running her own business, international jewelry business that supports indigenous communities in the Philippines from Manila. What I see as one of the biggest obstacles to success is fear of change and fear of risk. Fear comes back to fear, which is amazing to identify because then you know it's not about skills, ability, experiences, it's mindset, which is something you can change right now, today. You have what it takes to change it. Successful entrepreneurs listen to their intuition, listen to your heart. This is where meditation can be really useful. Finding that quiet time, thinking about, late nights when you're in bed, the world is quiet. What comes up for you? What is the thing you want that's nagging at you that you haven't done yet, that you really want, that's important to you? And then take action. 1 and 2, really important, which is why I ask, what is that nuclear action that you can take today to move yourself forward? These are a few other testimonials from people who I have worked with and what's been possible in their lives from working with a coach. So I ask, are you getting step-by-step strategy, world-class support, and performance and mindset coaching to reach your goal, your vision, move through imposter syndrome, create that thing, be that thing? If you're missing any of these things, work with people who can walk with you from vision to results. When you are if you are thinking about working with a coach, a couple of really key questions that I recommend that you ask before you work with anyone is, are you getting results? Is the coach getting results in their life? Are they getting clients results? The people they work with, what results are they seeing in their lives as a result of the work that they do together? And will you hold me accountable? Will you be tough? Will you be more than a friend, be my coach, hold me accountable to the things I say I'm going to do? Create the opportunity for my personal growth here, push me to grow. Bottom line is your life is in your hands. You deserve to create a life of peace, purpose, and fulfillment. That's why I'm here. This is why I'm so excited to share this presentation, because I believe in it so powerfully. If you don't have this, then work with someone who can help you get there. You're worth it. Now, you have a choice. How I can help you. I've set aside some time in the next few days to speak to you personally about how you can apply these ideas to your life starting today. Whatever your biggest challenges are, I've seen it, I know how to overcome it. I want to share that with you. On the session, I'll work with you to craft a step-by-step game plan to hit your goals for this year. The cost, absolutely free. I promise at the beginning, nothing for sale here, free consultation to create that step-by-step game plan. What is the goal you have? Where is imposter syndrome showing up for you specifically? We'll create a plan catered to you. This is for anyone who is ambitious, willing to be vulnerable, and desires growth. You must desire impact on the community and the world around you. Benefit of working for myself is I choose who I work with, and I found that these qualities are really important to make it a positive experience and relationship for me. This is what I care about and who I work with, and also qualities that create results. Being ambitious, willing to be vulnerable, desire growth, and want an impact on the community, care about impact on the community. If that's you, can book a session with me today. I'm doing this because, like you, I want to change the world. And that begins with working with one person at a time to realize their potential and scale their impact. And I know that you might want help to transform your life. If so, we can talk about it and see if it's a good fit for both of us. And if not, that's fine too. All right, so I will hand it over to Jen here to wrap up. Thank you all, and I think we have a little bit of time for questions and hope to carry the conversation forward.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jennifer. Does anyone want to unmute and ask questions? We only have 4 minutes left. And while you think about your questions, there's one coming in. The question is, Jennifer, how did you find your coach help you?
Yes, how did my coach help me? When I first started working with my coach, I was living in China, and I was working for this NGO building partnerships and programming to combat sex trafficking in Asia. I started working with my coach and having conversations around what my goal was. Right up until then, I'd been in school, I'd been working in New York, and I was very dependent on my job or my company to define the goal for me. Okay, I work for a women's rights organization. My goal is women's equality. I work for, or I'm in grad school. My goal is write my thesis and graduate. Right? It was externally defined. Working with a coach, I started to explore what do I want as person, free agent, individual in this world? What do I want my impact to be beyond me? What do I really care about? What do I really love doing? And a lot of this is in alignment, right? Some of it wasn't new. Like I'm genuinely really passionate about women's rights, about refugee issues. So then I got to ask the question, what is the vision for that? What do I want to create in the world? How many people would I love to impact, taking away all the fears, judgments, limitations of myself? I can't do that. I can't run an international nonprofit. I can't become a published author. Taking all of that away, what would I love to do? Build up from scratch and then work backwards. Start with the end goal and work backwards. And so then from there, I wanted to do more than the resources my current NGO had capacity for. And so I became a freelance consultant. I wanted to understand refugee issues. So I moved to South Africa, moved to Egypt. These are things that maybe I would have done later. With a coach, I definitely did. And I did them now. I did them this year. And so those were huge. And probably the biggest and most recent was starting my own business. Again, this idea A or B, nonprofit, no money, big corporate money, A or B, only two options that I could envision for myself. Working with a coach, suddenly, well, what do you want to do? I want to impact these people. I want to work on women's rights, refugee issues. What are all the ways you can do that? All right, I could work for a nonprofit, could work for a corporate, could become